All right, so I'm looking at the math on this. 18,000 Chinese nationals released at our southern border in this fiscal year, 6,000 alone in July. I couple that with learning about spy balloons flying over the country and spy operations set up in Cuba, sir, and I think this sounds like a massive national security threat.
You're absolutely right, Brian. Let's face it, it's a sad day in America when the Chinese Communist Party is paying more attention to our border than the White House is. So think about this. We've had 18,000 Chinese nationalists cross the border and released. Let me emphasize, they crossed the border, they were apprehended, and they were released, and then probably another additional 6,000 gotaways. These folks are infiltrating our schools, they're infiltrating our high-tech companies, stealing everything we know about official intelligence, as well as military operations as well. The open southern border is the #1 most immediate national security problem this nation is facing.
Senator Marshall, I want to ask you about the White House's new move to grant expedited work permits to almost 500,000 migrants from Venezuela, caving to the requests of the Democratic local leaders here in New York, the Governor Hochul, and New York City Mayor Eric Adams. I want to get just your reaction to the work permits. Is that the right move from the Biden administration? What message does that send to other people that are trying to cross the border? And then also, if it's not the right move, what should cities like New York do with, 100,000 migrants that are here now?
Yeah, once again, don't watch what the White House is saying. Watch what they're doing. Their processes are promoting this catch and release. That's why we're having record numbers. All these people from Venezuela, and then the ex post facto saying here's work permits as well. It's the wrong way to do it. Until we secure our borders and control the input, there's really nothing that those folks, whether you're in New York or Kansas or in Texas, but just imagine what it's like to be on those Texas border towns where I have visited myself, and they're overwhelmed with that every single day, totally taxing all their community health support systems they've got. There's not an answer when you have 6 million people caught and released into this country over this Biden administration.
Senator, it's Dagan McDowell. The one thing I keep my eye on is the debt and the spending, and the Republicans over in the Senate who are part of the problem and not the solution. Looking at the 12 appropriation bills that have come out of the Appropriations Committee, that Senate Republicans have joined Democrats in appropriations and classified $14 billion of ordinary spending as emergency. They've gone 10% or reversed 10% or more of the Fiscal Responsibility Act savings that Kevin McCarthy, House Speaker, negotiated with President Biden. And this is this extra money, not emergency, they just called it that and tried to hoodwink the American people, is wanted to be dispersed between defense, homeland security, labor, health and human services, education. I could go on. I know who's on appropriations, including Mitch McConnell and Lindsey Graham and Lisa Murkowski and Jerry Moran. Can you name names about those who are part of the problem and not the solution?
Well, Dagan, it's more complicated than naming names. But what we're having now is this crisis moment when this $33 trillion national debt is coming to roost. We're going to spend $2 trillion more this year. We're going to spend $700 billion a year in interest. When you're spending that much money on interest, there's no money left to take care of the troops or help out people that need health care. That's why I'm one of the persons that have stopped this process, that are preventing this vote from going forward, is I don't see any progress towards fiscal responsibility. So our hope is going to be over there on the House side. I salute Kevin McCarthy. He's doing an incredible job trying to keep that caucus together with such a short lease. So we have more control on the House side than we do the Senate right now, and there are many of us on the Senate side trying to slow this down. And I'm going to salute Ron Johnson and name names, doing a good job. Ron Johnson, Mike Lee, Rick Scott, Ted Cruz. There's some others as well, but there's a nucleus of us trying to balance this budget.
All right, Senator Marshall, we are going to continue to follow this. Thank you very much for your time this afternoon.